What's good, everyone? Welcome back to my channel and to another episode of Finance Friday. Now, if not a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or two, I asked you guys to send me your hot money questions. Once every so often, I do a Q&A video where I answer some of the questions you guys leave me on my social media platforms, whether that is on Instagram or even here on YouTube. And today, I've picked around 10 to 12 questions that I felt are very repetitive and they are hot, as I said. So today I'm just going to be answering those money questions. So they're quite a bit and it might be a long-ish discussion. So I'd like to get straight into it now. All right, so I'm just going to be reading the question and giving my response. So the first question, obviously, we are using my phone because I just got all of them onto one place so that it can be easy. The first question that I got was, how do we choose the best money market funds, Coach Susan? I know you might not be able to name specific brands, but how do we go about selecting the best MMF? Like, what is the procedure? Okay. This is a really good question. Obviously, I talk a lot about money market funds here, and I have always said that they are one of the best avenues to save your money as opposed to banks. Obviously, because you kill two birds with one stone, you're able to save because you're getting capital preservation, and you're also able to invest because you're getting some return or some interest on your savings. Now, the reason why I don't always name specific brands is because I've always steered clear of just saying go to MMFX or go to MMFY, because some of us will just take that as the gospel truth and not even do their research or due diligence. And then obviously when you get in trouble, you're going to say, Coach Susan told you to go to that firm. Now, how do you actually choose? I would say the first thing that you need to do is confirm that the company is actually licensed and registered. We say that is always our starting point. The second thing I would do is to look at the brand reputation. You want to read what people are saying about their experience with that particular company. How responsive are they? What are the interest rates? And then obviously, for me, a personal favorite has always been to go with money market funds that have a good return, yes, but have also been in the market long enough for there to be some form of a track record. I try to steer clear of people that are very, very new in the market, like 2 years old, 4 years, 5 years old. This is just a personal preference, because I feel like for a company that has been here much longer, maybe for 5 years, 2 decades, you have, you have enough time to kind of like observe what their track record has been. So that's what I would say. Obviously, maybe the fourth thing I would say is that when you're choosing a money market fund, you might want to clearly define what your purpose for the MMF is. If you're choosing a money market fund for emergency fund purposes, you might want to check on how easy is it or how long does it take to withdraw. Some money market funds are great because you send in a withdrawal request maybe today in the morning. And by evening, for example, you've already withdrawn your money. One of the money market funds I use, for example, is Zimele. And Zimele, like if I send a withdrawal request today in the morning, I get my money like by 4 p.m. or latest like tomorrow morning. I also have CIC as one of my money market funds. That's not always the case with CIC. I don't get my money in a day. Mostly it takes around 2 to 3 working days for the withdrawal to happen. So you would want to just check on what is the purpose so that you can know, okay, if it's money you need very quickly, then you might want to get an MMF that actually has maybe faster withdrawal timelines. And obviously check on the interest rates. A good money market fund should not give you an interest rate that is, let's say, way below, obviously, inflation. Normally, they range anything between 9 to even 14%. What you need to know is that money market fund interest rates fluctuate on a daily basis. Today, a particular money market fund X can be at 14%. Tomorrow, it's at 13.2%. So there's no like fixed interest rate. What you get is averages. But what you want to understand is what the market average is at a given point in time, and ensure that while other money market funds are giving, let's say, 12, 13%, you're not in an MMF that is giving you 8 or 7%. That would be too low. Okay? I hope that has answered your question. The second question is, kindly talk about paying debt versus trying to build an emergency fund. Now, this is really interesting because this is ideally the kind of state I found myself in 2019 when I lost my job. I didn't have savings and I was in debt. And then, of course, when I started earning, I was wondering what exactly do I do? Like, which should be a priority? There is no ideal response to this, but I would tell you what I did and also what I try to tell my clients. If you can find a way to do both, that would be the best. Because you see, abandoning your debt, especially if it is high interest earning debt, for example, the mobile loans, it's gonna dig you deeper into the debt situation because now you're incurring crazy interest rates. But at the same time, not having an emergency fund could also dig you deeper into debt, because ideally what will happen is that when you get an emergency and you didn't have an emergency fund, you are gonna get into deeper debt. So both things are dangerous to abandon, which is why I preach budgeting. I know you guys just say, oh, Coach Susan anatuambianga tu budget all the time. Don't you have any other financial tips? Guys, budgeting will help you because it will help you to be able to reallocate money in such a way that you can do both. So for me, I always say, do your bare minimum payments towards your debt, while at the same time doing a bare minimum towards your emergency fund. When it comes to those two, I doubt that there's a way to choose between one of them. However, if it was a worst case scenario, I feel like I would prioritize building an emergency fund, at least for a month or 2 or 3 months emergency fund. If I have them, or just put aside some form of money for emergencies, maybe for a few months, and then begin attacking your debt. For me, an emergency fund is my first line of defense. So if I had to choose, I don't recommend choosing between the two, but if I had to choose, I would probably choose building an emergency fund first, some form of it. Yeah. The third question is, what are some of your business insights on systems needed to effectively run businesses in Kenya? Now, this is a very broad question, but maybe I can answer it in summary in this way. For you to be able to have effective systems to run a business, you need to understand the simple basics of running a business. I am such an advocate of giving your business, no matter how small it is, what I like to call Fortune 500 company treatment, even if it's just a one-woman show or one-man show. So look at basics. Number one, is your business, do you have an actual name for your business? And not a name on Instagram, but have you done business name registration? If it's a business that requires more registration, like it being a limited company or a limited partnership, do the legal aspects of it. Number two, please separate business accounts from personal account. If your personal account is with Standard Chartered Bank, you could decide to probably even do a completely different bank account, or whether it's within the same bank account, or maybe do like a KCB for your business account, so that at no given point should business money and personal money mix, which is the same thing as even your M-Pesa numbers. I see people collecting money, like a client is paying you to your personal M-Pesa number, and that day you're going to get groceries or make your hair. If you're not so careful, you're gonna use business money to make your hair and to buy groceries, and yet you need to replenish stock in your business, or, so separate business money from personal money. And then another third system that I think is really, really much needed to effectively run your business in Kenya is bookkeeping and accounting. Ensure that there is such thorough record keeping. You're able to track all your expenses in the business. You're able to track all your outflows in the business. Please understand taxes for your business, because this gets so many of us in trouble. That is very, very efficient and effective. And obviously, I don't think a good business can exist without a proper marketing strategy. It could be a marketing strategy that is in your head or even just written on a notebook, but you must be able to, there should be a structure, a strategy, or a system for people to know you exist. So whether that is having a very well done social media, very well done YouTube, a LinkedIn, a website, some form of way or a marketing strategy where people can find you and know that you actually offer this product and service. So maybe those 4 things, yeah? Now, number 5 question is, do retirement schemes have a mandatory requirement of monthly deposits like insurance covers? I'm looking for a solution that won't require mandatory monthly deposits due to the nature of my job, but I'm very ready and disciplined to do payments and in good amounts when the cash flow looks good. This is really good. This is why I love retirement funds actually. They're self-paced. A personal pension fund will not tell you must contribute 5,650 every month without fail. That is an insurance product. So what I always tell people is that you need to understand the difference between insurance products and investment products. A pension is an investment product, especially a personal pension fund. Most of them in Kenya only require a bare minimum of 1,000 bob. You can do more when you have the money or not. So if someone is actually selling you a product from an insurance company and they're telling you that you must have this fixed amount of money and there are penalties, and for some reason they're telling you that is a retirement product, they're lying to you. There's a lot of, I don't know what to say, but there's a lot of liars, a lot of salespeople that are selling us the wrong product and telling us it does one thing and yet it doesn't. So please understand, personal pension funds should not be like restricted to a particular amount. They just tell you the bare minimum is 1,000, but you can do 20, 50K. You can skip even 4 months, come back again. They are all self-paced. Question 6, explain about index funds and how to invest in them. I don't understand the difference between them and mutual funds. Okay, now, so let's start with what a mutual fund is. A mutual fund is pretty much a collective investment scheme where a particular company, an investment firm, or even a fund manager will pull money from different investors and invest it in different places. Most of the time, these mutual funds are pretty much investing in, they could invest in the stock markets, they could invest in bills and bonds, they could invest in any asset class. Mutual funds just means it's money being pulled together to specifically invest in either a group of assets or a particular asset, okay? Now, what is an index fund? An index fund is, if I'm to explain, is just like an investment fund that follows what we call like benchmark indexes. Like if you've heard of NASDAQ 100 or the S&P 500, for example, the S&P 500 is an index that tracks the performance of the Fortune top 500 companies in the United States of America, for example. So we are talking the Microsoft, the Google, Amazon, Tesla, and all of that, right? So ideally, when you invest in an index fund, you're investing, it's like you're buying a fraction, just a 0.00 whatever, depending on how much money you've invested. You're investing in a fraction of that particular company, and it's like when you invest in the index fund, your money is distributed. It's like you've bought just a little bit of each of those companies that are in that particular index. Okay, so an index fund, kind of like mostly index funds are in the stock market, area. So ideally, if you invest in an index fund, you're investing in a group or a structured and a grouped kind of like a group of stocks or shares in a particular market. Okay. The advantage of this is that it kind of like gives you a diversified portfolio in a way, as opposed to buying an individual stock. Let me give you a good example. So maybe you bought Amazon shares, or depending on whichever country you're in, whatever kind of shares, you bought like Amazon shares, individual stock or shares. If Amazon goes down today, they go down with all your money if that's the only stock you had bought, right? So there's a bit of higher risk if you buy what we call individual stocks. However, if you bought an index fund, because an index fund it has many other stocks, just one of them going under, for example, Amazon, would not completely deplete your funds because you would have other shares that you also bought in that index that haven't collapsed. So it minimizes the risk of losing all your money in stock market investing. Okay. Now, question number 7, how do insurances work? Is it okay to save my money with them? Oh my goodness, guys, I have so much to say about saving with insurances. And maybe let me just first of all start by saying on this channel, I have done quite a number of videos. Maybe I'll try link the playlist down below, but I've done quite a number of videos on education policies, life insurance policies, endowment policies, quite a number of, and I even brought like an expert in that area, like a sales agent in that area to help us understand. Now, I feel like one of the reasons why I feel like in each of my Q&As, we always get this question. And most of us are wondering whether like, there's this plan that Company X sold me. It's an endowment plan. It's a savings plan, etc. Let me break this down very quickly. There's a very big difference between saving, investing, and insuring. Okay. I mean, pretty much ask Google. Yeah. If today you Googled what is insurance, I'm pretty sure Google will tell you that insurance is a risk mitigation product, that insurance is a protection product, and that insurance is an agreement you enter into with a company or a firm that in exchange for certain premiums, that's why they're called premiums. In exchange for certain premiums, you will receive some form of a benefit. Okay? So if it is a health insurance, if you pay premiums, then you get health coverage. If it's a car insurance, you pay premiums, you get protection in the case of accidents. If it is a pure life insurance, in the case of your death, your dependents will get a benefit. They will get a lump sum paid to them. Now, what we are experiencing right now and why people are confused between whether they should save in money market funds or pension funds or whatever, or whether they should save with insurances, is because there are what we call hybrid products nowadays that are a combination of the protection aspect, which is the insurance aspect, but then there's now the savings aspect. So let me give you a good example. I had this discussion, with one of my clients, and, I was trying to explain to them how life insurance is supposed to work. And I remember telling them that life insurance is not for you. If I'm paying for a life insurance right now and I'm doing it right, it's not supposed to benefit me because I'm insuring against my death. The beneficiaries of my life insurance will be my dependents, my children, anyone who is put as a beneficiary, my spouse or whoever else is under me, or the people or persons that were listed as my beneficiaries are the ones to benefit. So, we were doing some math and I told her, if you put this X amount of money, this life insurance will probably pay out, maybe say 20 million. And I remember her asking me, and I'm not going to get any of that. And I'm like, all that money, so I'm just doing it and then it will never benefit me. And this is where, guys, mumepatikana, especially for us as Kenyans, most of us do not want to accept or understand that the proper way of using insurance is not necessarily for you to get your money back. The benefit of having insurance is that there's a certain risk that has been mitigated against, or in the case it occurs, there's money to kind of like pay for the damages, right? But a lot of us do not want to hear that we're going to save for a life insurance and that the money is not going to go back. We want to get the money back, which is one of the reasons why these insurance companies actually, they met a need. They structured products that can guarantee you who feels weird not getting the money back. Now they're telling you we have this money back policy, we have this product that gives you life insurance, but at the same time, you're going to get bonuses after 10 years and stuff like that. And that is why there's so much confusion. Now, you guys know my stand. I'm not a fan of the hybrid product. And this is the reason why. It's a combination of both a saving product and an insurance product. My biggest problem is that you're disadvantaged both ways. They don't give you enough protection. So in other words, the payout you would have gotten with a pure life cover versus the payout you will get with that hybrid is so low. Like someone who has a pure life cover that is not obsessed with the money coming back to them will get a cover in the tunes of 10 million, maybe even more. But because you want that combination of, you still want to feel like your money is going to come back to you, you pay for the endowment plans, the education plans, the money back policies, and they don't give you, my problem with them is that they don't give you enough protection, so you won't even get that much of a payout. And then in terms of protection, and then they also do not give you enough savings returns. Most of them, I dare say, don't even come close to compensating you for inflation. We've done numbers and I've seen what someone has given an insurance company, and we've run the numbers. Like so many of my clients, I tell them, can you calculate how much you give this insurance company for 10 years? Write that number down. Now go back to the policy document and check what is your sum assured and tell me exactly how much you've made for 10 years and compare. If that money was somewhere else that was interest earning, would you have made that much, or would you, some of us even realize you're getting paid close to the same amount, if not less. So you're wondering, so where did the rest of the money go? All right. So that's a mouthful, but generally, do I recommend saving money with insurances? I don't know if you mean insurance products or insurance companies. Now, insurance companies, as I told you, they will have investment products, pension products, and insurance products. Please, insurance is for risk mitigation, guys. Risk mitigation and risk mitigation only. If you want your money to make the best use of you, what you need to do is that if you want to save and invest your money, get saving products, get investment products. These are products that are pure savings and investments, not combined with life insurances. And I feel like that is where you will get the best ROI in terms of return on your money. Most of them will actually compensate you for inflation, okay? If you want to do like the insurance products or savings for one reason or the other, most people want to do them because they are forced in a way. So every time I have this discussion, I'll always have someone come for me and they're like, Susan, some people would never have saved if it wasn't for these things. I'm like, okay. If you struggle with discipline and you need an insurance product or an insurance contract to discipline you to contribute every month without fail, then well and good, okay? Number 8, this is also on insurance. How does insurance in education work? Let me say I have children that I pay for tuition, for their tuition for primary level, as I pay for education insurance for their high school level. When they are in high school, the insurance company will take over payment of school fees. I just want to know how insurance works here. This is, again, another thing I always like to say. We say that insurance is risk mitigation. Now, I always ask people, is my child's education a risk I need to mitigate against, or is it just a long-term goal that I need to save and invest for? Okay, you can get an education policy, and an education policy pretty much is a rainy day fund that in the case of your death or something happens to you, between now and then, your children will get some form of a compensation. But the truth of the matter, again, is that when you run the numbers, the money that most of us get from education policies cannot educate our children for longer than a year or two. So what happens after that? So again, for me, I've always been like, so here, number one, the insurance company will not take over high school for your child. They're just going to give you a payout. Okay, so if it's after 10 years, 20 years, you get your payout. Once you get your payout, that's the money you're ideally supposed to now use to take your child to school. So depending on which school they're going, what is the school fees there? Are there extracurricular activities? The money could last you a year. Maybe the money will only last you 2 years, maybe even just one term or one semester. So you need to run your numbers. Again, remember that insurance policies are for risk mitigation. So get an education policy because you just want some form of protection. But then please go right ahead and begin investing for your child's education. Ask yourself, but how long do I have for this child to go to school? I have 10 years. I have 5 years. Which school do I want them to go to? What does that look like in terms of annual school fees? So for 4 years in uni, I'll need 1 million or I'll need 4 million. So how can I raise or invest to grow and multiply my money such that by the time this child is in high school or in uni, I have this amount of portfolio that can either earn me passive income or can help me pay school fees? For me, when I think of education, guys, I think cash flow, which is why I believe that education should be invested for, not insured for. It's like the same thing as retirement. When I think of retirement, I think cash flow, right? So anything that requires cash flow, especially regular cash flow like school fees, this is something you're paying every month. You need to invest, not insure, okay? So understand the difference. Saving, as we said, is capital preservation. That is putting money in your M-Pesa, under your mattress, maybe even in a simple MMF. Investing is capital multiplication. That's putting your money in, your bonds, your mutual funds, your treasury bills, and a business even, like in such a way that your money is going to grow and compound and multiply, while insuring is for protection. So I want you to think about insurance products as part of your protection portfolio, not investment or savings portfolio, okay? Number 9, could you please tell us if mutual funds are a good investment option to save for retirement, gain passive income, and to create wealth? You mostly talk about unit trusts on your channel, so I just wanted to know if you could provide some more insight on mutual funds. Guys, I think this is just a jargon issue. I believe that unit trusts are actually a form of mutual funds. Okay, let me explain. A unit trust is also a collective investment scheme, right? Where a fund manager pulls money from different investors and invests that money on your behalf. If that money is invested in short-term corporate debt, treasury bills, and whatnot, that's your simple money market fund. Money market funds fall under unit trust. If the money is invested in the stock market, that forms your equity funds, right? If the money is invested in a balanced portfolio, like a little bit goes to bills and bonds, a little bit goes to stocks, maybe a little bit goes to cash and cash equivalents, that's your balanced funds, okay? And then, so unit trusts are also some form of, remember, mutual fund just means money is being collected from different investors, pulled into one fund, and then that money is like distributed or invested in different assets. You'll find most mutual funds focus on stock market investing, but that's pretty much, again, as I said, a jargon. Are they a good investment option to save for retirement? Yes, in a sense, in the case that they would give your money an opportunity to grow, multiply, and compound, depending on the particular nature of asset that you're working with or dealing with. But pretty much for retirement planning, I always recommend that on the bare minimum, please ensure that you have, first of all, a simple retirement fund. So if you're here in Kenya, these are your personal pension funds. If we are looking at global, these are your individual retirement accounts, your 401ks. Have that as a bare minimum. And then, of course, now you can add mutual funds as just an avenue to grow, multiply your money, because you're putting your money in assets that are, income generating or interest bearing. Okay? Question 10. What's your advice for a 40-year-old that has lost hope in building their financial goals? Because I feel like there's more information to the young than to the old. Oh, I'm so sorry. Guys, I'm 30. So I know I tend sometimes to really gravitate towards speaking to like young professionals, but I don't know. Let me try answer this way. I don't know, maybe it's just because I've not gotten there, but like one of the experiences I've had in my life, every time I remember before I was 22, I was told how it was going to be so life-changing, like people had pressure. I got to 22, I was just excited. And then I remember being told, 25 is going to be life-changing. And I got to 25 and I was like, no big deal. Then 30 was the biggest deal ever. And you're like, the pressure that comes with turning 30 and wondering. I've never had an issue with how old I am, like in terms of like feeling the pressure and giving up. And I genuinely feel like even if I was to start all over again at 40, I would not be under pressure. Honestly, I feel like this whole ageism thing for you must have done this by the time you're 30, you must have done this by the time you're 40, I feel like it is not one of the best approaches when it comes to thinking about finances. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why I feel like it should not, like, I get the discouraging bit of it. Sometimes we run numbers even here on this channel and you realize, oh my God, had I started saving for retirement when I was 20, had I started budgeting when I was younger, maybe I would have, maybe. But the truth is, you didn't start when you were 20 and you can't go back in time and change it. You didn't have this information. Maybe had you had this financial literacy, then you'd have done better. For me, I'm always like, it is just a trap and it's going to cripple me if I keep focusing on everything I was not able to do or achieve. My focus has always been on the now. So if I was 40 years old, the first thing I would do is probably look back at how far I have come from and identify the mistakes. Because for me, looking back should not just be to regret. That's wasting my time, my energy, and my emotions. I just want to look back and see, where did I go wrong? What could I have done better, right? Just so that you know what went wrong where. And then I would genuinely just begin with simple basics. Because, the question is, you've lost hope in building your financial goals. Why? Listen, if you're going to live all the way to 80, Maze, you have like 40 more years to go. If you're going to go to 90, you have like 50 more years to go. There's still so much time ahead. I don't think 40 is old at all. I don't think it's a hopeless age. I don't even think 50 is hopeless at all. I genuinely really, this is one of the things I really admire sometimes about some of the Western cultures. I feel like here in Africa, we get to 50, 60, and it's like you've already decided because retirement age and all, it's like you're a potato. No, I'm seeing people write books and start entirely new careers at the age of 50, 60. There's a therapist I love, and a writer. His name is Gabo Mat. And he's written one of my favorite books, When the Body Says No. And just the other day, I was telling my partner, I cannot for the life of me understand how this guy, as of early this year, he was 84. He was doing media tours, conferences, just discussing his book and his practice. And this guy is 84. Right? I look at some of what some of these guys in some of these other countries are doing in terms of like someone is 70 and out there just pursuing their goals, purposes, writing new books, trying out new things. I would not give up. I think it is in our head when someone tells you, oh, you're 40, you're 50, you're 60. People are doing great things at 70 and at 80. So what I would do is that I would just learn from my lessons and decide that today is the first day of the rest of my life and learn and start practicing the basics. Even if you're going to start from simple budgeting, simple income generation, you'd be somewhere so far by 45. If you stopped getting stuck at the fact that, oh, I'm 40 and I've given up, there's no reason to give up, at least not from where I sit. Okay. Question 11, we need to wrap this up. Why don't you ever talk about forex trading? I knew this couldn't miss. Forex trading and cryptocurrencies, are they bad investments? Number one, bad is too general a term. They're not bad investments. Why don't I talk about them? Now, guys, you people, if you've been here long enough, you know me. Number one, I'm very practical. Number two, the goal of what I do here on YouTube and even in the Legacy Hub Kenya, which is my coaching center, is to simplify personal finance so much that any person with or without finance knowledge, with or without finance background, can see and like how practical some of these things are, like budgeting, investing, saving, emergency funds. I want you to feel so empowered. And I want you to practice from like the simple basics. So my goal is to make, I always say this, is to make personal finance simple, accessible, and personal. Okay, now, why I don't discuss forex trading and cryptocurrencies is because I feel like they are much, much more advanced for someone who has not yet figured simple budgeting, simple investing, no emergency funds, no any form of passive income, like you've not even figured out the basics of financial investing, you've not figured out investing in what we call the mainstream assets. Our three major assets are, as we said, and we keep saying this, we have equities, that those are your stocks, we have fixed income assets, those are your bonds, and then cash and equivalents, your short-term investments like money market funds, treasury bonds and bills. I am a firm believer that you have no business, if you've not even done the simple basics, you cannot go to class 8 and you have not done class 4, class 5, class 7. So my target audience and the people I'm really trying to get are these ones who are really just trying to get the basics and to build a foundation, because I consider cryptocurrencies and forex as what I call alternative investments. And the people who should be doing these investments are people who are very well versed and trained in that area. Number 2, even the amount of your portfolio that should be allocated to this should be very minimal, maybe 5 to 10% of your entire portfolio, because these assets are very volatile, highly volatile and uncontrollable per se, right? So that's why I don't talk about them. I also don't talk about them because I don't do them. So I cannot discuss something that I am not very well versed in, something I personally don't invest in or even practice. Do I think they're bad investments? Absolutely not. They're just an alternative form of investing, but that's not my forte. I'm pretty much on YouTube and on social media. There's so many other people who discuss forex and even cryptocurrency investing, but those people are not me, unfortunately, for now. So that's why. And finally, we need to wrap it up. This is the last question. How does one live off of their dividend income? You mentioned one day that one can live off of their dividends. What are some of the resources that pay dividends here in Kenya? And how do you calculate the amount you receive in order to know whether it would be enough to live on? Okay, so what are the assets or resources where you can earn dividends from? Number 1, stocks or shares, stock market investing. That's the whole point of why we buy shares. We buy shares because of dividend income, especially if you're doing long-term dividend investing. When I'm choosing a stock to buy, my biggest question for my broker has always been like, what is the projection of this share or this company in terms of long-term dividend payments? So dividends are just when a company makes profits. Once they've paid all their obligations due and they've made a profit, they share that profit with their investors. Depending on how many shares you own in that company, of course, the more your shares, the more the dividend you get, and vice versa. So shares will get you dividend income annually. Real estate investment trusts, REITs will earn you dividends semi-annually or even annually. In case you don't know what real estate investment trusts are, I've discussed them before in previous videos. I'm going to link the video down below just in case you missed that video. So real estate investment trusts are collective investment schemes that pull money together and invest in income-generating real estate assets. So as these assets make income, obviously from renting or leasing, then the profits are shared with the investors of that particular real estate project. In Kenya also, SACCOs are also, especially like some good SACCOs out here paying very good dividends, up to 15, 16, 17% per annum on dividend income, depending again on the amount of shares that you own in the SACCO. Now, can you actually calculate in order to know whether there'd be enough to live on? Absolutely not. I feel like what you can do, and for me, when I tell people you can live off, like I feel like living off your dividends is a factor of quite a number of combinations. Number 1, you've chosen very sustainable companies that will withstand the test of time, that will be profitable throughout, and you've done a good mix of these companies. So whether that is in the stock market, in real estate investment trusts, in SACCOs, and stuff like that. For me, passive income, and especially the kind of passive income that is sustainable for you to live off of, is a combination of different things. If you want predictable sources of passive income that you can live off of, predictable, that is like you want to be sure, maybe go the bonds way, because bonds are very like they're called fixed income assets for a reason. You'll be getting 17% per annum. That way you can run your numbers. But because dividends change every year, depending on how profitable the company was that year, you'll find that the interest rate this year is low, and interest rate for next year is higher. Dividends are not ideally fixed. So I don't think you can accurately predict exactly how much you would make. You will know that you'll get a dividend, but you can't know exactly how much, because that depends on whether the company was profitable in a particular year and how profitable they were. So dividends can just be one of the avenues you earn passive income from that you can live off of. But if you want predictable sources of passive income, bonds are great for that because they're predictable. They're fixed income assets. Again, if you've not watched my videos on bonds, treasury bills and bonds, I'll also try and link the video down below so that you can also familiarize yourself with it. So guys, that's it for today. We've answered 12 burning questions that I received from you guys. A lot of the questions were just repetitive, so I just lumped them up and tried to answer as much as I can. I'm gonna be doing a lot more of these Q&A videos, so please let me know in the comment section whether you enjoyed this format of videos. And then obviously if you have questions, put them down below and I'm going to have my assistant check them out and, collect these questions for the next Q&A video that I do. Thank you so much for watching today's Finance Friday episode. I'll see you on the next one.